For decades, there has been a wide agreement among most experts and the public that the current energy sources we use in the United States are in need of replacement. Relying on fossil fuels of coal and oil are only going to cause issues because of their negative impact on the environment. In 2014, we used hydraulic fracturing. According to Dangers of Fracking, a website that provides the problems that fracking has, hydraulic fracturing is the process of drilling and injecting fluid into the ground at a high pressure in order to fracture shale rocks to release natural gas inside. Hydraulic fracking has had several different advancements throughout the past decade, including the process to reach natural gases that were once not possibly reachable. When fracking is taking place, the fluid reaches the end of the well, and the high pressure causes the nearby shale rock to break, creating cracks where natural gas can flow into the wells. During this process, methane gas and toxic chemicals have the chance to leach out from the system and contaminate any nearby groundwater. Fracking is a growing industry that poses a number of troubling issues, but at the same time it also increases America's energy production considerably. Many companies involved in fracking believe that there is no problem with the extraction of natural gas from underground layers of shale because they are increasing America's energy production. According to a guide online put out by ProPublica, there are several companies involved in fracking, including Barnett Shale Energy and BJ Services. With so many problems and issues that could arise through fracking, companies that are involved have to follow standards and practices, but they are not even close to strict. According to an article by Bloomberg, Shale Gas and Fracking, it discusses the standards and practices involved in hydraulic fracturing. The Environmental Protection Agency issues measures for the use of diesel in hydraulic fracturing, and they said that the standards rely on the state and industry practices and are part of an effort to ensure responsible development of gas trapped in shale. Another article from Gale Opposing Viewpoints tells us as time goes on, fracking industries only plan to grow their industries even bigger. The industries plan to bring this development into a leading process used for the energy industry. Fracking companies want to unleash a tremendous wave of new domestic drilling in the next decade. So far, more than half of the states in the United States are predicted to be fracking sites. While fracking companies believe in the power of fracking, it has also inspired an aggressive argument due to the concerns over the several hazards that come along during the process of fracking. Some people argue that fracking is terrible and that it should be stopped because it is harming the environment. To begin, one major agreement that is used against fracking is that several chemicals are used in the extraction of natural gas. According to Dangers of Fracking, up to 600 chemicals are used in fracking fluid, including known toxins such as lead, uranium, mercury, radium, and methanol. Not only is there many different chemicals used in fracking, but there are several thousand gallons of those certain chemicals all in one designated area. While fracking, the water brought in is mixed with sand and chemicals to create the fracking fluid. Once the fluid is created, approximately 40,000 gallons of chemicals are used per each process of fracturing. Another main argument against fracturing is that nearby groundwater has a chance of becoming contaminated, and in some areas it already has. According to Opposing Viewpoints, ecologist Sandra Steingraber notes that in the year 2012, 100 billion gallons of water were diverted from aquifers and freshwater sources and converted through fracking into toxic waste that cannot be safely returned to the natural cycle. In the year 2014, fracking industries have no long-term plan that has been put up to deal with the continuing problem of millions of gallons of poisonous flowback water from cracked wells. While there are many arguments against fracking, there are also several arguments for fracking. Others argue that fracking is excellent because it is increasing America's energy production. Since fracking has begun, America has become one of the largest producers of energy in the whole entire world. To begin, a major argument for fracking is, although there are several hazards and problems with fracking, hydraulic fracturing helps boost the economy and also has helped reduce the dependence on fossil fuels. According to Energy from Shale, hydraulic fracturing has increased several local economies because it generates royalty payments to property owners, provides tax revenues to the government, and creates several high-paying American jobs. engineering, surveying, construction, hospitality, equipment manufacturing, and environmental permitting are just some of the few professions that are created from fracking. Another major argument for fracking is that hydraulic fracturing makes it possible to produce oil and natural gas in places where other technologies are ineffective. Since fracking has existed, it has unlocked massive new supplies of oil, supplies that have only increased our country's energy, improved our ability to generate electricity, helped the United States heat home, and has created power vehicles for several generations to come. Whether people agree or disagree with the topic of fracking, many people have the same viewpoint of why fracking is bad. To begin, the case of Dinmock, Pennsylvania, where multiple spills and other drilling-related pollution made hundreds without the use of water. When Cabot Oil was fracking, a lot of the chemicals broke through all the cracks in the wells and leaked into the groundwater, contaminating it. Homeowners were unable to use the water that went through their homes. The groundwater became so contaminated that it was flammable. If you lit the water coming out of your hose with the lighter, it would stay flaming for hours. Just imagine at any second of the day, your house could burst into flames, and there would be nothing you could do about it because the water has already traveled through your pipes. Another major viewpoint of fracking being a bad idea is because it touches on the issues of land rights and contracts, the role of regulators, disputes over zoning, the process of assessing public health and environmental impacts, and the overlapping authority of local, county, and state governments. Basically, if you have shale on your property, you do not own the mineral rights. The government has rights, and they are more than welcome to come onto your land and begin fracking without your consent. In my opinion, that's just ridiculous. Although there are many major points of disagreement for fracking, there are many major points of agreement. There are also some major points of agreement towards fracking. To begin, industry sources say that fracking takes place thousands of feet beneath groundwater aquifers, and because they build steel and cement casings around their wells, the likelihood of contamination of drinking water sources due to fracking is extremely remote. Also, fracking is the key to unlocking resources that were once not reachable. Experts estimate that domestic shale holds an additional 24 billion barrels of recovery in oil and natural gas. Fracking is slowly reducing our reliance on foreign oil, resulting in a more affordable energy for American businesses and families. Fracking also builds local economies and decreases gas prices around the area that fracking has taken place. No matter what, there is always going to be positive and negative sides to any situation. In my opinion, I believe that fracking is a good idea. This is because I believe that there are more than enough standards and regulations for the process of fracking. Fracking is a controversial issue in all of the United States of America. It brings benefits to the economy by creating jobs, like the job I have right now. Without it, I wouldn't have the opportunity I would have right now to make the money I'm making. It decreases our dependence on foreign fossil fuels and helps us reach natural gas that was once not reachable, but it also harms the environment. There have been several problems, including nearby groundwater becoming flammable and undrinkable water that needs to stop. I don't think I could imagine not being able to drink the water out of my sink. I believe that more research is always going to be required, and safety precautions always need to be clearly outlined in order for fracking to be an overall positive improvement in the way we receive our oil. Overall, fracking is a growing industry that poses a number of troubling issues, but at the same time it has also increased America's energy production considerably. Very good.